Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this Wheaton conversation with our Fall 2025 Fellows. They are Inga Lokwe, Francois Pietersen, and Antonia Yiaxi Savvidou. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to briefly explain the structure of our program as well as introduce myself. I'm Pamela Weichman. I'm the Director of Education and Artist Services at WheatonArts. I'm broadcasting from Southern New Jersey, which I recognize as traditionally the land of the Lenni Lenape. Wheaton Conversations is presented by PNC Arts Alive, the United Nations International Year of Glass, and the Art Alliance for Contemporary Glass. We thank them all for their support. Through membership, donations, and shopping at shop.wheatonarts.org, you can also show your support. Please consider exploring these options so we can continue to offer free programs such as this. It is now my pleasure to introduce our moderator for this program, Katie Murphy. Katie Murphy received her BFA from Temple University and her MFA from Virginia Commonwealth University. She started working with glass in 2009 and has taught the material to students ranging in age from middle school to degree-seeking university students across the East Coast at institutions such as Virginia Commonwealth University, Old Dominion University, and the Visual Arts Center of Richmond. Katie is the Senior Glass Studio Manager at WheatonArts, where she facilitates artist residencies as well as running the day-to-day studio operations. Katie, thank you so much for joining us and for leading our conversation.
Thanks, Pam. I'm excited to talk to the fellows, talk more and learn about their work. So I'm just going to give a brief synopsis of each of our fellows before they dive deeper into their artwork. So I'll start with Inga. Inga Lokwe is an artist born in Johannesburg and began this journey in the world of art by an innate creativity that manifested itself at a tender age. And I think, as you can see, we'll talk a little bit more through Inga's bio, but Inga has this like creative thread through writing and artwork, and you'll learn more about that. Initially starting with a goal for a career in economics, Inga's journey took a significant turn when she took a gap year after completing her matriculation. During this period, she discovered her true passion for art, which led her to enroll in university. There she learned glass blowing and sculpture and has traveled to everywhere from Pilchuck Glass School and was a former intern of ours last year. So we're really excited to have Inga back in a new role as a fellow. She participated in 2022 in her first group show in Brooklyn, Pretoria. In 2023, she exhibited in Seattle and has exhibited across the world. So thank you, Inga, for joining us today. Next, I'll introduce Francois Pietersen, also a South African artist who began this artistic creative journey at a young age, drawn to flowers and organic materials. Growing up gay in a traditional African household shaped this sensitivity to the natural world. Inga and Francois are going to present their work individually and then combined. So they came here together in this collaborative residency. And you'll see how these mixing of medias really influences each other's artwork. So Francois works with pressed flowers, living plants, and mixed media, creating installations and sculptural works from temporary to more permanent forms. His practice draws on both childhood experiences, South African social histories, and the lingering cultural impact of the border war. Francois is currently pursuing a master's degree and is refining his research into flower iconography, masculinity, and destruction. Francois has also been a prolific exhibiting anartist, and you can see more of that information towards the bottom of the screen. So thank you also for joining us. And then finally, I'll talk about Antonia Yiaxi Savvidou is joining us originally from Cyprus. She recently received her MFA from Alfred University. So hello to the folks from Alfred in the audience. She has participated also in many group exhibitions across Europe, United States, including the Chu in Athens. Her work has been exhibited and sold in the Cali Row Gallery in Athens, Greece. She's been nominated for the 2025 Gladys Foundation Master of Fine Arts Fellowship in Painting and Sculpture, and selected for the 2025 Summer Residency at Salem Artworks, and then joins us here at WheatonArts. So thank you also for joining us. This group has a really interesting collaborative energy, so I'm excited to learn more about that as you share your work. If anyone has any questions as they are talking through their pieces, please put those in the Q&A. Pam and I will be monitoring both, and we'll try and talk to each of the artists after they present their work, but if you have a question about a specific artwork, please note that in your question as well.
Hi, my name is Anna, and, and I would like first to thank Wheaton for this great opportunity to be here. And I'm going to show you some outline work. Let's start here with you in the back. This is titled Long Belt. It's made out of 4 large pieces of kombucha stone, sewn together into stainless steel bronze. The kombucha stone is produced through a fermentation process, and it has a really strong acidic odor. The wood are projected on the kombucha pile, and it's segments from 2 interviews. One interview with the Sarah, which is a clinician and psychiatric clinic, and one interview is conducted from a doctor, and a doctor. And it's the visual video is supposed to demonstrate the symptoms of paradox. In the second video, it's that, which is a girl that is still with the piano, and which she's experienced severe sexual abuse from her biological partner, and then after her adoption, she experienced violent experiences too much, and in the clip, the interview is trying to get you to happy. She killed some ladybirds. This piece, of course, it has to do with, it's of course about psychological health issues and trauma, and how how the whole thing is approached, and in which way sometimes the environment of the patient and the people that are supposed to give support on that part sometimes just sustain and sustain this identity of the patient. And the next pieces are the perfusion device 1 and perfusion device 2. This is a sculpture that is made out of 2 large glass slam pieces positioned, placed in a mirroring position, and then there is a ring mechanism that activates a falling side of the sculpture, which follows like a breathing pattern, and the pattern gets interrupted by a deflation of 30 seconds every 40 seconds, and then returns to a breathing pattern again. I see the sculptures as kind of bodies. They resemble maybe a womb or lungs, but I think of them as perfusion devices, which is the medical term for the devices, machines, that one of their purposes is to keep the organs of donors alive and functional. And I just feel that this is a more uncanny way of passing light and transforming. And that's the perfusion device 2. It's made in a very similar way. Also, the structures that they're resting on, they're mimicking the structures of broken horses. So I kind of see them as a combination of a machine and a toy. And that one was intended to have a form, round form inside as well, but then the height of it was like level I let the viewer to have to inspect the inside of it, which is a picture that we see on the right side, and that let me make the decision to do the first piece. The next piece is called Linea Negra, and it's there are three glass domes with one projection each. On the left, we can see a video of my mother giving birth to my older sister Paula and my younger sister Cristina. One is much later, the other one is a cesarean section. In both videos, you can see the whole procedure, like the examination of the babies. The middle one is all footage from the ultrasound and MRI scans, pregnancies, and it houses stomach ultrasound. And the third one is a very graphic. It's a collage of clips from CPR managements giving birth to CPR babies. There are a lot of there are many clinics that are entirely dedicated to medical simulation, and then all of the doctors, nurses, students have to act like if those mannequins are alive, and also the mannequins can be pretty long and score with people. Yeah, that's the picture. Some skills from the two videos. One of my mother giving birth and the CPR mannequins, and putting them next to each other is create some kind of comparison to each other, and for me, it brings up doubts of the authenticity of human experiences. And I'm just thinking about the human condition of the big universal experiences of this birth and death. The next few slides are showing a body of work that I developed the last 2 years, and I casually refer to them as kombucha robots. Like my work is a lot with the observability of light, Google very constructed variables, and as to is showing how those robots are like trying to function in a way that a lot of times they fall to follow the task, and they're very self-destructive, and they can't hurt themselves. And in a way, that's what and it's attractive to continue doing this work, that I see them as performers, and I'm supposed to be the one to direct them. But then also they kind of have a meeting somewhere on do whatever. So they do whatever they want, but I don't know if they also know. So it's kind of an adventure. That's a very
So as si poco in Spanish, how you talk,
supposed to play the piano,
Mr. Pip.
but again, sometimes it's hyperpartial it itself, or when it's the host and the gold starting.
I had a
Right,
on a piece of paper in Salma.
like it has a lot of difficulties, but it's kind of what it do. And then the moisture of the kombucha still allows the robot to activate the electrical field of the instrument in the same way that the human hands can activate it. And and that's an older, that's one of my first ones, but I like to share these pictures because that's how they look at the beginning. It starts with the skin being red and then they dry over time.
That's the
And that's the last one of the robots. It's in a piece called "This Relationship is About Industrial," and is inspired by the impossible unity of two entities, and it's while also at the same time acknowledging them as design machines and just talking about this planning and deciding to become output to someone, but also agreeing the idea that we're speech subjects and we cannot really unite. And just how when you experience something with someone, the experience might have a completely different role for each person. And that's some installation pictures of my law work. It's mainly molds of sculptures that look like organs or body parts. Some of them are at a lighthouse, and they're all like made by a blind mountain workshop. And some also machine parts and tubing parts, and everything combined together as well. Since I started working in sculpture, I was always interested in the fragmentation of the body and how that makes you with the self, how it makes you identify stuff. And I'm also interested about the environments of extraction. And glass, I feel like glass it's giving a lot of space to talk about these sort of things because, for example, in comparison with kombucha, it's like less likely to provoke this kind of emotions because it's just it has like more likable qualities. And this piece is called Eels. I got the video from a friend of mine, friend's name Jessie Gonza, and it's an eel without a head, like moving in a spiral way in that scene. And there are two of them. One of them goes forward, one of them goes reverse, and it's just completely headless body spiraling. And it's like it's in denial of its own death, and it just exists in a kind of state where there's another name. And it's just I kind of find it like terrifying and magical at the same time. And these the last two works are works that I made with my collaborator Chris Golub, and in two previous residencies in New York and Vermont. This one is filmed in a small free range farm in upstate New York, and it's documentation of the slaughtering of the chicken. And it's again talking about mortality and fear of death and how that is something that everybody's gonna face. And in a more cinematic approach this time. And the last piece is a diving board. The diving board is a reconstruction alternated version of the two diving boards, which is like really tall and double and double kneeling position with two TVs on each side. One TV on the back shows the 3 animated version of myself and my collaborator, this group, going through climbing and going through the other direction. And then on the other TV, you can see our 3D animated sharks jumping up. Of course, there is no words on the anything's down. And this piece is pretty fresh, but it speaks about the continuous lives of human endeavors and self-destructive decisions. Definitely. That's it. Now it's Inga.
Thank you, Anna. Before we get started with Inga, I just want to give a moment if anyone has any questions. If not, we can leave all of the questions until the end. I had a lot of questions about the kombucha skins, but maybe I'll just ask one now and then ask some more later. I'm really just kind of curious how you figured out that was a material that you wanted to explore and how long it takes to develop these skins. It feels like a little bit like a mad scientist.
Yeah. How did I learn about it?
Yeah. It feels like a very specific material to choose.
Yeah, I've seen it like when I was, I think, about 19 years old. I saw it like the form of it, and I was like, oh, I would like to use it, and then it didn't happen for some time to get it, and then I was trying to do it, but they would keep dying. They were not like growing. At some point, it worked, but the amount of time that it takes also depends from the heat, how cold it is, how hot it is. But for the piece, for example, the piece in the first picture, that's a really large one. But it took like a month and a half to grow. But the smaller pieces, it also depends from a lot of stuff, but we think about it 2 weeks to a month.
And then how long do they usually survive for?
Well, if you keep them in the container, if you keep them in the container, then they can stay alive for as long as they are there. But they just get really acidic as the time will get like more acidic. And if you take them out and let them dry, that's when they basically die.
Good. Very cool. Thank you for sharing. I have some more questions I'll save for the end so that Inga can start. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Hi everyone, my name is Inga. My name is Lokwe. I'm from South Africa. And my art, I have the art statement. Mostly, I always regard myself to more like I'm a narrative artist. I love telling story, but I don't really write, but I do write a lot through my art, and I tell stories of women raised me, and tell stories of my grandmother, tell stories of myself and what I'm surrounded as well. And I'm very much connected. I'm more inspired and connected so much to the land and to the art because I grew up in a farm. So within my art statement, you see like says that goes like the earth taught me patience, and the women around me taught me how to endure in grace. And then also in most of my artwork, you're gonna see a lot of like transparency of glass, which to me it kind of symbolizes a lot of authenticity and transparency, and it gives a lot of perspective of how one can express themselves in terms of like who they are, and truly. I This work is called Transcending Series 2, which most of the time I do a lot of like installations of flowers hanging, and I've done like 120 flowers hanging with them like blocks and blocks around it. And basically this artwork to me, especially the flowers, it's kind of like someone asked like why flowers? Why it's such a very direct thing, like why is it? But because it's like to me like each flower it does have a story, especially in glass. I look at glass as like this material that kind of freeze the time and freeze the moment. And I'm so inspired, and I am because of the woman that I have in my life that like been grandfather, grandmother, and which has taught me so much. And I'm kind of like a collective of the memories and of myself as well, and where I'm going as well through these flowers. And it is as if like whatever woman that I meet in my life or whoever that I have with my people or whoever, I kind of like it brings the moment to these flowers. And it is as if as time goes by and I see them and transcending. And as I meet people, I see and all these women, it's as if like the installation of these women gets bigger and bigger through the knowledge and the wisdom that I gain from. And then I have the headwear artworks, which in my language, the closer language, we call it clear. So it is basically a headwear that like what usually a closer woman when they marry, they have to like my grandma married she had to wear clear, so you wear the headwear, the holy chata. And I'm kind of like in my genre of my art is kind of like influencing of the African the Afrofuturism. So I take the moment, or I take the old works or the old culture, and then I take the traditional one, and then I freeze it in glass. I freeze the moment of it in glass, and it's so it's sort of like inspired like what does that mean for me now in our generation, in our culture, and also being a queer woman, and like where does the space of it it appears with me, because when you marry a man, then you kind of have to wear it. And then what happens when that story does not align with you? What is the story of the do we reimagine the group of which is clear, or do we reinterpret it and its existence, and also our relationship with it? What happens to it? And then on the other side, I have the pipe, which is like in my language, you read it after from July. So it's a long piece, and then I read the wood stand, and then even the wood stand is carved in it. And here I'm basically telling the story of African old rural women who within the Xhosa community, where they would sit and then they would have this stories, and they're like old, and then they're smoking their pipes, and it's large and it's big, and then it depends from woman to woman and their position in that community. And I think I'm fascinated with the fact like would go, and everyone knows that's where you go and to receive words of wisdom as these women are sitting down and then they're gathering and then they're smoking their pipes. And the pipes, and the reason as well, of course, this is not just the pipe. I see the pipe as a way of, we use the pipe, whatever that is in the pipe, to smoke, to connect to our ancestors, and also to get wisdom from our elders, and to go to gain knowledge from our elders. So it is that I'm taking those moments and I'm raising time through the past, and this just doesn't become a pipe to just smoke for satisfaction or for whatever reason, but it becomes like the ancestry symbolic that gives out the wisdom. And then I have a plastic chair, which I've just made it out of wood. I cut this wood of wood down from the wood. I put I used wax, and then I put on the plaster, and I cut it into a kiln. But before I cut it, in most of my work, I put a lot of details because if you see the chair, there's like a dent of sitting, and if you see closer, and you see like the dent of sitting, it's like when you see someone sit stuff and they stand up, and there's a shininess in there. And to me, it's the chair. We call it this food, or like you use it to sit out your elders, especially discussing uh, things and moments. And most of my work, I kind of like take the moment that feels like it's nothing, and I freeze those moments, and then it's like I'm capturing all of these childhood, and I'm bringing back into my back to what it is, and I reinterpret that in terms of what is it now, what does it say to me right now. And then I have the piece overshot, which is like the cloud. So this is where would usually like if this is the half of it. So I made only the half of it. So you have this piece. You'd have women. You'd have our cows or our livestock in it. Like this is saying that whatsoever. That's what we keep our livestock. But in my culture, it would be a thing of like women are not allowed to enter in unless you're married, which you're married, and like and then you get to enter into the crowd. In that, then that's the only time we could enter into the crowd to where you're marrying at. And now the crowd, for some weird reason, I kind of like it. I recreate it, I reimagine it, and then I get in the crowd to decide like who enters in this crowd that I have voted myself now, and then I get to put my vote. I get to decide and who is allowed to be in this crowd, and then you see the glass flowers in them on the floor and all the stuff, and in South Africa, we have this glass flower called protea. Protea flowers, kind of like our national flower. But then it's kind of like it's not really protea, but like it is drawn from that inspiration. Where the protea before in South Africa, it was not just a flower; it was meant to be used as like borders. We used to protect the protea flower, and we used to use protea flower to protect our land and anything that was trying to jump over to our land. So I take the powerful of the flowers, the resemblance of the flower, and then I put in this crown, and then as the border of what's supposed to enter and who's supposed to enter, who's supposed to enter in this. So I use the flowers as the border of this crown. And then I have Wheaton, which is the musical instrument. I started developing these last year when I came for a meeting. It was very exciting. And there's an instrument that my grandmother used to make within the village and sell it. It would basically be played by women and married women and virgin girls and all. And then I recreate the ORD and I'll bring it back because I think, of course, it's a fascinating instrument. But I bring it more in Afrofuturism. But before, it's kind of like a very simple shape that you just put into your chest. But I kind of like bring it to ORD, and then which is kind of like retelling the story again, or in terms of like culture, and culture is not, or culture, even the tradition is not is something that is made by the Malcolms or anything like that, but it is what we define and true love and understanding and patience. So kind of like not being far-fetched from culture, but redefining the culture through our circumstances and also when we are right now. And then have the boxing gloves. And the boxing gloves was basically like items I made 2 years ago. But I do enjoy bringing these things because it's mostly basically I started really following like casting, and this is casting and frameworking. I casted the gloves, and then I frameworked the flowers to the other club. And but also here it was as if like I was finding myself, and I was as well like finding my voice, and or rather like my finding a way to express myself. I in order for me, I always like look in terms of like what other works. I look of like what I do, which is like boxing has always been one thing that I did. I did a lot of boxing. So from doing boxing to kind of like take that and mix this masculine thing and the feminine thing, and to be one I was, I think at the time it was really interesting. And then I felt as well, it was like I might be breaking something uh, that I didn't know existed. Even the narrative stories that I have today, and I can also have now because um, of these pieces. But I think that's just about inspiring me. And thank you.
Thanks, Inga. So Francois is going to talk about his work, and then the two of you will talk about your work together after that. Okay, great. Um, I don't know if I caught this. I was just wondering, the Yuhadi, the piece that you made last year, can you just tell us what the traditional materials for that would have been?
Yeah. Uh, yeah. So it's I blew the bound, and then at the back I have like the wood that I kind of took from the for a particular music instrument, and then I just like cut it, and then like it has a hole, and I just put it together. And then also the arc is kind of like a just twisted like hanging from glass, and I just like bend them. Blah, blah, blah. And then I welded the stand, and then but the stand is kind of like in parts, so like there's some bolts into them, so which you can unbolt it and all that. So uh, yeah, that's pretty much about it. The stand is welded, and also it's bolted. So
And the instrument that this is based off of, what that was not made out of glass, correct?
there,
This is based off of an instrument, right?
yes, yeah, this is the one.
And was that made out of glass, or is
The original instrument is not made out of glass, but this is made out of glass.
does this play the same way as the original instrument, or does the material change the tone of it?
The sound is not really giving, but we can work with what we have. And I think, and that's why the series of it is developing more and more, making more of them, blowing a little bit thinner, and pulling the paint a little bit thinner for that sound to happen at the same time, not easy to break. So it's still the sun is coming.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I really appreciated seeing this piece because I only saw the progress when you were here, so it's nice to see the finished images. Thank you. I'll ask you some more questions later too, but I want to give Francois some time to talk.
Hello, everyone. My name is Francois, and thanks for the opportunity to share my work with you. And thank you, Wheaton. It's been a blessing so far. Um, my work stems from my environment that I grew up in. I grew up in a traditional white South African Afrikaans household where anything outside of hypermasculinity um, and being gay was denied or dismissed. From my hobbies to the sports I played, to my mannerisms, and even to the type of career choices that was laid in front of me, everything was curated in a predefined mold that I did not have the choice to necessarily play out myself. Um, so my work deeply stems from my personal narratives of navigating myself and finding what I truly believed to be a man. And I didn't always align with the mold that was given to me that what it means to be a man. Um, so in my work, I often like criticize and criticize rites of passages, and I'm not talking about the formal rites of passage. I'm talking about the more silent interventions like the locker room chats and the relationship you have with your teammates playing rugby or cricket, the locker room interactions, or just the school uniforms, and you're finding your way and navigating yourself and realizing the social and environmental and familial pressures that goes into creating this ideal man. Um, so through navigating through all of these things, I early on in my life I found a connection with botanicals and florals. Um, that kind of became my solace and my place of refuge. Um, from collecting to preserving to eventually sculpting with flowers, it became such a prominent part of my art practice. Um, and in many ways, I'm so thankful for that because I see myself as the flower being pressed, and I'll talk a little bit later about my process of pressing and how that influenced my work and the role it plays in my work. But flowers is a prominent and very important part of my art practice. Yeah, by subtly addressing the idea of death and ontology as well. At one point in my art career, I was quite angry. So the type of work I made was fueled with a lot of anger, and I was angry of the expectations that was placed upon me. I was angry at my family, and I was angry at everything socially because I didn't understand why the idea of gender was so important. So that brought me to that question of like, what is gender? And let's discuss that. And through that exploration, I kind of found my own relationship with gender and masculinity. So in a way, through my work, flowers become an agent of queer ecology, and I aim to deconstruct the problematic, my personal problematic aspects of masculinity. So I'll be discussing three works today, and these are very emotionally important works to me, and all three of them are installations. Yeah. So the first one is Whispers in a Treehouse. It's constructed out of three separate fragments of a treehouse, loosely based off of the treehouse I had growing up, me and my sister. It's a great space because it was also a space that my parents were not allowed to, well, not necessarily allowed, but I don't think they could have accessed it if they wanted to. So it's a hyper personal space where me and my sister could have kind of left the performativity at the door and kind of just learn to be with ourselves. The way this piece is installed is at first it looks like a bare fragments of a treehouse. And then when you walk around the one corner that you can see on the right, you can see the typically commonly coded feminine objects like more feminine child books, the flower wallpaper, the makeup palette, the preserved flowers in the glass test tubes, as well as some decorative butterfly ornaments, some kitsch elements, as well as a picked photograph of me and my friend growing up, where I made a skirt out of like leaves. It's kind of like this collection archival space where I didn't have to worry about it. The story might be a little bit exaggerated, but I remember as well growing up, I got a hold of my mom's or my sister's lipstick, and for some reason I drew underneath the bed the irony in that is like things that you're being denied will still resurface, but sadly it will resurface in the shadows. This piece does have a more peaceful and peaceful reflection about the whole experience. As well, the connection I have with my sister growing up in this space. It's been an amazing safe space. So it's a combination of imagination and reality. And of course, like all childhood memories, it's fragmented. One important element I want to point out is in the middle image, the shoes on the entryway. These are also typically male-coded shoes. It also becomes a metaphorical barrier threshold where I decide to leave the performative hypermasculinity at the door before I enter the space where I could fully be myself. So this piece, like emotionally and physically, means a lot to me. Also, the connection I have with my sister, I'm very blessed. Yeah, no, it's quite a large piece, and I'm very thankful for it. Then I'm moving on to two balls and a bat. No pun intended, but pun intended. This work is three different elements of my childhood toys. They are all made of bronze, and they are life size as well, actual size. And then the flowers are not silent observers in this project. They are actively growing through the objects. There's a lot of phallic symbolism within this piece, where, of course, the two bowls and a bat, but again, it comments on this whole idealization of the ideal man and how we kind of glorify this idea of manhood. So the bronze is kind of used in an ironic way in the sense. It's very, I'm appropriating the hardness and the dominance of the bronze within this piece, as well as the flowers. But flowers that are usually coded as feminine, they are not silent within this piece. They are there, they are active, and they are kind of corroding these masculine elements. I also kind of see them as a sense of corruption, corrupting these elements, corrupting my childhood toys. In many ways, I also see them as tombstones, forgotten, left, overgrown, and the flowers slowly taking over these objects. It's also a reflection of me having to like get rid of some of these ingrained notions of masculinity. Growing up, being told what it means to be a man, how to be a man. It's kind of also showing that transition period of me letting go of these ingrained ideas. It was a process, and it takes forever, and it's work. But the flowers also becomes that representation of that process. Yeah, the flowers are made out of copper and bronze, and yeah, that's that. Then for my last piece, it's also an installation of cricket elements, pressed flower elements. The bat, the cricket ball box, and the ball is all made out of pressed flowers. So I will talk a little bit more about my process of pressing. But for me personally, this piece also like directly involves the critiquing of rites of passages. And again, those silent passages where you have a conversation on the cricket field, or the introduction of manhood within the locker rooms. And it also shows how fragile manhood is, because the idea of being pressed into a specific mold under pressure over time, it's a process that takes time and effort. But the flowers are fragile at the end of the day. The initial goal for these works were not to be permanent. So it kind of breaks my heart to try and preserve them, because the goal for them is to deteriorate, because that contributes to the whole idea of the instability of manhood when faced with these societal and environmental pressures. The piece I want to highlight the most is the bowl box, an object made to protect what most men consider to be the most important part of their being, their genitals, is now not protective. It's decorative, it's ornamental, and it becomes this flower mesh. And for many men, it's the last place you would introduce flowers to, because it's such again, an idealized, glorified part of a male's body, and now it's being introduced to flowers. So I really enjoy the bowl box quite a lot. It's for me personally, it's got a lot of symbolism and it hits the right spots for a lot of people. But yeah, again, it just shows the fragility of what it means to be a man, and also with that preconceived ideas of what it means to be a man and how that deteriorates over time. Then I just quickly want to chat about my process of pressing. I am what the pressing of the flowers is again the most important part of my practice because the flowers become a metaphor for myself. Being pressed in between these two hard sheets of plaster and then being preserved, stitched. It again just shows that process of how performativity and how masculinity is created and constructed. After they're being pressed, I have to spend some time stitching them, and which I also enjoy because both pressing flowers, and stitching is considered as quite feminine practices, feminine crafts. So I'm also appropriating that whole idea of reintroducing these crafts and using them in such a way to appropriate or to deconstruct masculinity. So the process itself is very important to me, and I kind of enjoy the irony within that. Yeah, thank you for listening.
Thank you for sharing. I wanted to know about the specific flowers, if you're choosing specific types of flowers to convey a message.
Thank you for asking. I actually forgot to mention my favorite flower to use is actually, and it's not an indigenous South African flower, which is sad. I would like to use indigenous flowers, but it's called baby's breath, jib. And I kind of enjoy the wordplay a lot because baby's breath also translates to baby boomer, and the whole idea of how, specifically from speaking from my father's generation, Generation X, baby boomers. They were part of the border war during that time. So the idea of manhood had to be broken down, or identity had to be broken down in order for this unity to be raised. So baby's breath is also kind of like relating a lot to baby boomers, as well as the softness that comes along with it. So that is my primary flower I'm using for many reasons, conceptually, and also it creates a beautiful mesh. So I can just use that to like weave in different types of flowers within it.
Thank you. That's great. So Inga and Francois, you're going to talk a little bit about your shared process. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then we'll open up the conversation for questions. So if anyone has any questions for any of our three artists, you can add those to the chat whenever you'd like to.
So Francois and I came with the collaboration piece called "To Open Silence." So within the piece, we are making right there is with the mold, which is like a blanket, and it's a ribbon blanket, and beautiful. I recently like lost my mom, so there was a lot of cultural play that came with that, and what it means to lose your mom as a woman and as a firstborn in the family, and also the cultural traditions that comes and play part within that, and also if you are a particular woman, what are the things that can be done for you to support you? And if you're not that type of woman, what are the things that can be easily ignored regardless of how much you are in grief and all that? So the blanket kind of like shows a lot of that was denied, and which is like the blanket I never really received or never really got at the moment, especially in time of need, which it was meant to happen, but it didn't because I couldn't, I guess, confine into some traditional values that did not really align properly within the way that I present myself. But within the piece, I'm kind of like bringing the essence of a breathing moment. But at the same time, I think I have so much gratitude um, with it and the positiveness that comes with it, and like in recreating the blanket and kind of like allowing specific emotions to come through it. And it's quite like a very personal and an attachment, I guess, piece. So I'm busy, like you see, making the mold and after the mold, and just have it put it on the kiln and then take a fresh sheet of glass and then just slant through that mold, and then I get take that camera sheet of the blanket and just freeze it in glass, and also um, the glass also conceptually kind of like means part of us that we have to breathe through culture and through tradition, especially if we're not moving in environment. Uh, but and then Fortune I made a collaboration of having the blanket and the doily, but Fortune will speak more about the doily. When it comes to our work, even the influence of our collaboration, we worked with each other for a very long time since we were. Yeah, it's been 7 years now since we worked together, and we fit each other and we influence each other, and we just we have do a lot of passion projects together, and this was one of the most important pieces. I mean, there for me all of those times, which I'm thankful for. And so so we came with the piece. I was like, no, let's do this. We will come do the piece again. And but in glass now, it's like in one way that we can be able to express and actually uh, feel those moments and feel that grief in it. But Francois is going to explain more about the doily process and how does it come together with the glass and the connection between the two.
Yeah. So, as we've mentioned, it's a kind of a passion project for us both. It's been a dream to be able to work on this scale together. So the other half of this collaboration is a preserved doily. For those who doesn't know what a doily is, it's a household element that is commonly found in Christian households. But in general, when you go to your grandmother's house, the chances of you finding a doily it's highly likely. An object meant to preserve a kettle, anything you want to have preserved. It's a crocheted or woven piece of textile draped over some elements to protect it from dust. So, as Kay's mentioned, her aspect of grief, the doily is also takes a different form of grief about the rejection of culture, of your heritage and your kind of my white Afrikaans community, like struggling to like make peace. It is so it's discussing that whole idea of being denied within a space where you really truly need a space. And I think that's also where the piece kind of connects quite a lot with the different approaches to grief. Um, so the doily is in a three-part mold and is being stitched together and preserved, and it drapes over the corner of the blanket. So yeah, you can just see some of the process videos. So that is one of the plaster molds. And then usually there's another plaster mold that covers the top, and then the flowers are preserved in between. But for this collaboration and the scale, we decided to go with plexiglass perspex to preserve them, which was a good call because you could see the flowers a little bit easier to prevent mold and just to like keep an eye on them. But yeah, we are about 75% done.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit more. And we're very excited to see the finished product.
Cool. I'm excited too. So this piece is in the kiln right now, correct? Fingers
Yeah.
crossed.
Yeah.
Did I see a sneak peek of some of the photos of the three of you on the next slide?
Yes.
Yeah.
So my next question was really, I know Francois and Inga, you have known each other for a while, but this group of fellows, I think, has really connected very well together. So I'm really curious how you may feel like you've impacted each other, how in your personal lives, but also in your work. And you're all night owls, and I'm not. So I'm curious to see what you've been doing after hours. Yeah.
Um, I think I can say for us all, like it's been a blessing. It doesn't come often where you find a group of people that you really resonate with. It's been amazing. We've learned a lot from each other. I have learned how to become a night owl, which is usually not my thing. Blowing until 3 a.m. in the morning, it's rough. But these two, more than happy to do it.
Yeah, it's been really lovely to work with Anna. She keeps me on my toes. This one is crazy. But I really enjoyed working with you guys too, and it was really amazing. We had so much fun. We had a lot of singing and a lot of dancing and a lot of craziness, a lot of pieces breaking, remaking, and staying the whole entire night. But we shared really great, and I'm sure we're gonna kidnap Anna to South Africa. So this is great.
Yeah, it's been super fun.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to be here with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel great.
Yeah, it's just some pictures of the night Wheaton threw us a pizza night, which has been very memorable. Also, Katie took us, with K-Fire. And then Katie also, shout out to K-Fire. And Katie also took us to Chem Glass, which has been an amazing experience. It's been so cool witnessing that.
And also.
Oh, and then we did have to include the bikes.
Yeah, our bikes have been the most fun experience, going all three of us every morning and even coming back at night or early mornings, cold or not, really amazing.
Yeah.
And we had really amazing time working together with our PCs and just learning so much. And honestly, we just also like to send our gratitude and thanks to Wheaton for giving us this opportunity. It's been really, 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 really amazing. It's life-changing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, on behalf of Wheaton, it's been wonderful having you here. And, I feel like we've been lucky, Inga, to watch you grow over the last year. And I'm looking forward to watching all three of you grow now. Let me see if we have any questions. We have a question from Ty about how the Pilchuck experience influenced your artwork. I don't know, maybe that was for you, Inga.
Oh, yeah. I do miss the Pilchuck community, must just say. But the Pilchuck community, it influenced me so much because, to be quite fair, I before I went to Pilchuck, I started glass like I did killings, I did hot casting, paperweight, but I never really blew glass. And that was my first time blowing glass in there. And I was so fascinated, like, to actually do it. And I was like, oh my goodness, I think I'm so addicted. And I was surrounded by so many artists and so many people that told me that, like, oh no, you have a talent, go for it, do it, you're gonna be great. And I'm so thankful for such small encouragement and kindness because I followed it and I do it and I'm loving it. And so the Pilchuck experience really influenced the wholeness of just the glass itself and the way I fell in love with it. So I'm very thankful. Shout out to the Pilchuck team and everyone there. You guys rock.
I love that. I'll ask a couple more questions, and then if anyone else has questions they want to share, please put those in the chat. So Anna, I want to go back to some of your work. I've several times throughout the last 6 weeks, you've mentioned that there's not enough hours in the day. And looking at your work, it seems like this is a pretty big body of work, and you still have so many ideas. So I'm kind of curious where your work is going from here, where you see things evolving.
Um, um, well, yeah, it's true. Many ideas, little time, I guess. Um, I think I want to, I kind of want to preserve all of this body of works. I would like to continue on the first two pieces that I showed, that they have the block which start the big samples. And that's definitely something that I want to work more on. And I, that's all the stuff that I did here too, just the glass part. And I would like to try to do some slumpings that are like look more like the blown sculptures. So that would be. I started trying stuff here, but it seems like it's gonna be a long run. And the kinetic stuff, I would like to connect the glass and the kinetic with also like more in a way more similar to the robot, not just the breathing sculpture. I would like to have them more vicious. I don't know, than breathing a lot.
I think the breaking is kind of beautiful, though, even if it's not what you want.
No. Like, yeah, I agree. It's beautiful. Yeah, again, it's just like a short performance.
Thank you. I think the three of you, I saw these really similar ties of this overarching idea of humanity and loss, and questioning these societal norms. And I guess to all three of you, has being here with each other influenced your artistic practices and the ways that you see your own work?
Um, because I think, well, personally, from my point of view, like my work has changed so much over the last few years. As I previously mentioned, like I first off started off very angry when it came to my art practice. I think just being around people and experiencing a variety of people inevitably changes the way you view the world. So I would say yes. I can't pinpoint exactly how or why, but I've been changed for the better. Yes, no, definitely.
Yeah, I definitely. It's quite interesting to understand, even not learn more about Anna's work, because it's kind of like there are things that I kind of have not really approached it in terms of like in my mind. It's kind of it hasn't like synced in on like how to approach like the concept that you have, for example, or even like it hasn't come into my mind, and then like you say or you explain it. And I remember the first time when I was like, okay, you need to tell me about your work, because I was so excited to know more. And then when she was I was like, what? And then I was like to her, what are you doing? Tell me, what is that? And then she was telling me, she was like, and I was like, it's quite, I guess I'm more fascinated about different minds and how the minds come together with different ideas. And I think maybe through that fascination, I'm like, I don't know. I can't necessarily say like it has changed me, but I'm quite fascinated by the experience and by the human mind of how far it can go, or how far it can capture, or how different we can be at the same time.
Yeah, I think we definitely reach out to people where we're like discussing the work, and you know, oh yeah, thought about this powerful art, and like just have it different ways. Yeah, there's so much critical thinking that happen around one another, which I think we challenge them art, even like with the discussion about it. Yeah, I think so. Like that's been cool. We spent an evening one time just discussing web. So that was interesting.
Oh, that's great. You know, I feel like I always learn something new from all of the fellows, and so it's been really exciting to see how your work has evolved. I'll have one final question, and then I'll ask you a bunch of questions tomorrow in person. But Inga and Francois, can you just describe the beginning of your collaboration? You know, you said you've been working together for a while, and I see so many ties between your work, but I'd really like to know the conception of that collaboration.
You want to go?
You go for it.
So we kind of met each other in our second year of studies at Tshwane University of Technology back home. And I don't even know when or how, but it just clicked. We were instant friends, and since then our art has grown simultaneously. And when we have an idea, we bounce it off each other, and I think it's the most beautiful way of like growing as an artist. And I wish that for everyone, to have that like kind of partner in crime that you can grow together with. Like every single choice we make with our art, we kind of like bounce it off of each other. Of course, there will always be that sense of individuality, but like I think there's something very rewarding of growing together.
Yeah, I think
He had other friends. And then I came up in his life, and then he disappeared. But when we started working together, I remember we had lectures that were like, oh, I can see these two like really going far with one another and stuff like that. And I think that sort of like pumped us up, or maybe we were already pumped. And then we kind of like our works, for some weird reason, where we were as well at the time, I was also angry with many things, and then you kind of grow with time, and he was kind of already also in a similar position or similar space, and we kind of like it as we grew, and then we kind of had to tone it down because we were like, okay, before we lose our mind, let's calm down, and and then I think from then we learned a lot different material because we were both in sculpture, but he didn't take class in second year. He took class only in first year, and then I took class throughout. And then with sculpture as well, working together with material, and then me finding my own material. But like, because I was like, I want to make glass sculptures, and I was like, yeah, I want to do flowers. And I think that but then we were like, but we have similar things together. Like you work with fragility of flowers, and then I'm like, yeah, and I work with fragility of glass. And I was like, hey, this is perfect. And we kind of like feed out to each other. So I think that also like grew more and more. And just besides us being friends, but also involving everyone in our lives to also be part of this cult that we have.
That's great. I love that. And I'm excited to see how Anna becomes a part of the cult as well.
I know.
Coming to South Africa.
Pam, I see you on the screen. Are we passing the conversation back to you now?
There is that one last question in the
I
chat,
missed that.
and you guys can answer that, and then we'll wrap it up after that question.
Okay. So Francois, have you thought about a time-lapse video of your flowers decaying?
That's a good idea. Yes, the whole documentation of the flowers decaying and also that process, I really need to work on. I'm very bad at that. I want to make my pretty things, and then I want to like kind of preserve them as much as possible and let them deteriorate in my box at home. I know that's not the right thing to do, but that's a great idea of actually getting a product that is viewable and understandable to portray the entire concept.
You don't feel like seeing that.
It breaks my heart to see them dying, even though I know they should.
And I'm based. I'm not based around there.
But it's a great suggestion, and I'll definitely keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing. We also got a follow-up from Ty that as a night owl and glass artist, I love the work you are creating, and I appreciate you sharing this amazing collaboration you have developed. And thank you all again for taking the time today, but also the last 6 weeks to share with us.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. I echo that. It's been absolute pleasure and amazing having you in our studio, on our campus, and your creative energy is amazing and it fills our spaces in such a wonderful way. I would just like everybody to be invited to follow our fellows on their Instagram handles, which are all listed on the screen here. So if anybody would like to follow our fellows on Instagram, these are all of the handles. And we do encourage you to share this video once we have it posted on our YouTube video for others who may not have been able to make it. And as always, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us here. We love to have people as repeat visitors, but we also love when we see some new names. If you are new to this series, or if you have been someone who attends repeatedly, I'd love to hear from you. Feedback, questions, comments, follow-ups. My email address is there on the screen. Please feel free to download the chat if you would like to save anything that was said within there, or reach out to me and I can provide you with a text. I sincerely thank everybody once again for joining us, and I hope you join us for future programs. Have a great night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.